the adult educational attention span. So Katie, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, everybody. Like Dr. Bryan was saying, the Duke Neurology Educators Academy, under the direction of Suma Shah, is really excited to start presenting here a brief series on improving our skills as medical educators. I'm Katie Moore, if I haven't met you before, which I think applies to most of you. I'm a new faculty member in the Movement Disorder Division, so thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning. I'm excited to kick off our series with a brief presentation on tailoring our teaching to meet the needs of adult learners. So let's see if this is going to do for me. Okay, so I stole here, speaking of our neurovascular colleagues, I stole a phrase, time is brain and time is learning. So many of us give traditional lectures, 50 to 60 minutes, but it's been shown that traditional lecture format results in lower learning retention rates and engagement from our learners. And evidence suggests that the typical adult learner attention span starts to wane after 15 to 20 minutes. And for those of you thinking this may have something to do with TikTok, this actually has more to do with how we process new information and form memories than it does social media. So we can't blame Twitter and TikTok for this phenomenon. Short of making your lecture 15 minutes, 20 minutes in length, there are a number of strategies that one can employ to accommodate this attention span and increase learner retention, which of course, as the Music Man was saying, is our goal, right? So these things can include everything from, totally rewriting your educational approach, doing small group learning, flipped classroom, whole host of other things. But we want to try to make this easy for you and something you can implement right away. So we're going to talk about 4 easy techniques that you can try. What we're going to do in the next couple of minutes here is discuss some easy ways for you to address this attention span conundrum without having to totally redevelop your lecture or attention span, lecture or educational plan. The basic idea is that every 15 or 20 minutes or so, you take a quick break with one of these strategies. All the strategies we're going to cover today require no additional resources, fairly minimal preparation, and can be used in a didactic group of any size. Of course, there are many other techniques, but today we want to highlight ones that are easy to use and things that you can start incorporating even today if you have a lecture planned for today. So let's talk about sort of the most basic one, which is essentially a pause procedure. It's what it's called in the literature. This is basically defined as a brief pause to allow learners to clarify and assimilate information, the most basic thing you can do. So you could simply just pause to ask for questions, show a humorous slide, take a sip of your coffee. The next 2 strategies that are listed here, the 1-minute paper and the muddiest point, are specific types of these pause procedures. If you learn nothing from this little presentation, just know it's a great idea to give your listeners a quick pause every 15 to 20 minutes during a talk for them to reset their attention span and get back on track with you. So the 1-minute paper. The 1-minute paper is a specific type of pause procedure. In this one, you basically pose a question or problem to your learners from the information you presented. Ask them to write down their response. This encourages them to commit to a response and engage with the material. Same as if you're on rounds and you want somebody to really commit to a differential or what they think the diagnosis is. An alternative commitment activity of this type includes audience response programs. This requires a little bit of extra work, but one good example is Poll Everywhere, which some of you may have seen used. This requires you to set up an account and have pre-prepared questions, but can be really helpful. Particularly for the presenter, it can give you immediate feedback on how well your learners are understanding the material. But the most basic thing is just to have a pause with this 1-minute paper and have students write down kind of the answer to your question or concern for them. Let's talk about the muddiest point. This is a similar thing. In the muddiest point, you encourage the students to pause for reflection on what was the most confusing thing for them about the information you just shared in the past 15-20 minutes. This gives the chance to the learners to ask for further clarification on your teaching points. This not only helps your current learners, but may actually give you insight into what concepts could use further clarification in your presentation for future iterations. Our final strategy is think, pair, share. In think, pair, share, you again pose a question to the group, but give them a moment to individually reflect on your question. Then they pair up with a neighbor to compare responses and reach a consensus. End this moment by calling on pairs to share their answer with the group. This also can give you a sense of how well you're doing in presenting the information, and again, get them to commit to an answer. So that's really all I have for you today. I have a couple of key resources that you might find interesting, particularly this paper from Wolf and colleagues, not another boring lecture from which most of this material comes. I'm happy to take any questions, and you can reach out to me on email or social media. Thanks so much for your time.